Hi, everybody. So this continues our series on mental complexity, and we're going to talk about the socialized mind today. Now, when we talk about plateaus of mental complexity, one of the most natural questions might be, who cares? So what? Who cares? How does that relate to me? How does it relate to my life or my interaction with others? Or how does it relate to my organization? Well, to put it as briefly as I can, the plateaus of mental complexity relate directly to your problem-solving ability, your ability to consider multiple perspectives on an issue or a topic, or your inability to consider multiple perspectives. And so the greater your mental complexity, the greater your ability to handle the difficult issues that come up as you climb up the ladder, as you become more and more of a leader, whether it's your family and your relationships. And it enriches your life, it enriches your conversations. It just expands your world so much. And that's why I talk about it so much. That's why I emphasize it so much, because I see the benefit of increasing in mental complexity time after time after time, and what it really does to help people enrich their lives. And so today we're going to talk about the socialized mind plateau of mental complexity. Now, there's actually two before this, but those relate directly to early childhood and adolescence. So in late adolescence to the mid-20s, you should reach this plateau of the socialized mind. What does it entail? All right, the socialized mind, when you're at this level, at this plateau of mental complexity, there are some things that are common to how you view the world and how you interpret things in the world. Now, something I want to point out at the onset is that at any point in time, at least 60% of all people are at this plateau of mental complexity, at this stage of their adult development. Now, I think there's research to show that about 60%, just slightly under, it's like 59.6%. And that's been pretty consistent over the past 50 years. I think in our current situation, that may actually be higher, because we seem to have, and I don't have any data to support this, but we seem to be at a place of much greater levels of groupthink. So let's look at a few of the characteristics of this plateau. First, we're shaped by the definitions and expectations of our personal environment. So what does that mean? That means one of the biggest elements of this plateau is that you crave acceptance and belonging. There's a group, your environment pertains to your group. That group they're the group you want to belong to, that they are the group that you want them to accept you. It's almost acceptance at all costs. So your ideals, your values, your perceptions of what's right and wrong, of what's real and not real, are really filtered through this. And a lot of times, because this individual is so set on acceptance of the group and takes their norms and values from the group, that when you're speaking to them, or when they're in a presentation of yours, or they're listening, or they're sitting in a class, they filter what's being said through what the group believes and values and holds near and dear to them. So they may actually hear you say something that you never said or never intended, because through that filter, what you said to them automatically must mean this. Here's an example. A lot of times when you're talking to especially young people, you might have something to say. Maybe it's supportive, maybe it's critical, but they take what you said and infer all kinds of meaning into it that you never meant. So you may have said something like, good job. You could have done a little better if you had done this, this, and this. Okay, constructive feedback, right? That individual may come back, and in their mind, what you said was, what they interpret is that you hate them, you don't like their work, you think their work is trash, and you think they're a garbage person. That seems extreme, but it happens all the time at this level. So it helps if you're speaking to an individual to know this is where they're coming from and what they value. Our second bullet point here is our self coheres by its alignment with and loyalty to that with which it identifies. So if it identifies with a certain group, and let's say the group has certain political positions, it will identify its sense of self with the political positions of that group. Okay, this is why you see so many young people that adhere to, well, socialism right now is a big thing for many young people, because in their mind, that's the values of the group. Their sense of self is wrapped up into this belief that that's a good system, even though it's well documented that nothing but tragedy has resulted in almost every case that system has been produced. That doesn't matter. What matters is that this is what my group holds near and dear. I am accepted by my group, and so my belief in this one little thing is part of my sense of self. And if I do not adhere to that in their mind, if they do not adhere to this belief, it shatters their entire sense of self. And so if you challenge them on it, you're not challenging an idea in their mind. You're challenging them as a person. And more, you are assaulting their group. The third bullet point here says this can express itself primarily in our relationships with people, with schools of thought, our ideas and beliefs, or both. And that's very true. And what one psychologist calls this type of mentality is when people are tied to the idea rather than thinking it through and existing in what we might consider the real world. I've heard one psychologist refer to these individuals as ideological puppets, and although he did not mean that in an endearing way, excuse me, there is some truth to that, and that their sense of self is wrapped up in that ideology, in that belief, in that school of thought. So this is the socialized mind. It's not a bad place to be necessarily. It's a place you should aspire to grow out of. But while nearly everyone who doesn't have any severe mental problems or neurological trauma reaches this stage, many people never grow beyond it. And here's why that's a problem. The socialized mind is great in a work world if you have a very simple job, right? You have one routine task you perform over and over and over that doesn't require a lot of thought. There's no autonomy, which means you're micromanaged. It'd be like a job where all you do is pull a lever every day and you have someone watching you do it, or a camera on you all the time to check, and nobody really interacts with you unless you make a mistake. That is a perfect job for the socialized mind. But in our current world, we don't have very many, if any, jobs like that. This plateau of mental complexity then is not really qualified to accept a job in our complex world. Not qualified to do what's going to be demanded of them in the workplace. And so we need to help people grow from this plateau to the second plateau, which is the self-authoring mind. And that's another video. So if you have any questions, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. If you're watching it on the channel, go Leave a comment because it helps the algorithm. Take care of yourselves. Come back for the next episode. I'll try and get that up tomorrow. Take care.